Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. For those of you who came after we started the Kirtan, this is a Bhagavad Gita class. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Good to see you. So today we are going to be looking at the verse 256. And the way we will structure the class is that we will read the Sanskrit, then we will read word by word translation, and then the purport by Srila Prabhupada, and then we will have a short discussion on the topic. Let's ask, but before that, I do want to ask you all, how many of you know how many chapters are there in the Bhagavad Gita? 18? Okay. And what is the name of chapter 2? What is it called? Contents of the Gita summarized. And which book do we refer to? In which Bhagavad Gita version do we refer to normally? Thank you, Mataji. So we refer to Bhagavad Gita as it is by Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. And basically, why we do that is because there are lots of versions of Bhagavad Gita. What we do is we do it as it is, because this is where we actually hear Krishna say his own say in his own words. So it's as it is because it is exactly as it is, and that's how we should be reading the Gita as well. So we'll begin with a short invocation, and please do join me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So now we will read chapter 2, verse 56. So just bear with me while I get this particular up. So I'm going to recite this, so please do join me. And it doesn't matter whether you can pronounce or not. The intent is to really practice. So Dukkeshva Dviggamana Sukeshu Vigatasprihaha Vitaraga Bhayakroda Stitarati Mutiruchyate Dukkeshva Anudvigamana Sukeshu Vigatasprihaha Vitaraga Bhayakroda Stitadi Muniruchyate. Now we will try to do it a bit longer. Dukkeshva Dvigamana Sukeshu vigata sprihaha Vitaraga bhaya krodha Stitadir muni ruchyate Dukhe dvano dvigamana Sukeshu vigata sprihaha Vitaraga bhaya krodha Stitadir muni ruchyate. Would anybody like to read? Would anybody like to try? You want to? Okay. Now we'll read the translation word by word. So please repeat after me. Dukkeshu, in the threefold miseries, anudvigna mana, without being agitated in mind, sukeshu, in happiness, vigata sprihaha, without being interested, vita, free from, raga, attachment, bhaya, fear, krodha, and anger, stita dihi, whose mind is steady, munihi, a sage, uchyate, is called. So this is the word by word translation. So I'm going to read the entire verse and we will have a discussion on this. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. I repeat, one who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So before we begin with understanding this particular verse, what I would like to begin with is a question. Because like Arjuna, and you know how this entire conversation between Arjuna and Krishna happened was through questions, and that's how we learn. Do you agree? How do we really acquire knowledge? How do we acquire knowledge? By reading, hearing, experiencing, very important, and by asking questions. So let's begin with a question. Who do you think is your role model in your life? So please do reflect on your life and ask yourself who has been your role model and why. Parents, that's, yeah. And what do we learn from our parents? So many things. What do you learn from your parents? To be safe. Yes, that's very true. In this world, it's so important to be safe because it is quite a dangerous place. So, yes, parents teach us how to be safe. So, for example, when you have a fire, your parents tell you not to put your hand on the fire because what's going to happen? It will burn. And what happens if it burns? Yeah, very true, very practical. So clearly, parents teach us to be safe. Who else are our role models? Teachers. So, any particular teacher that you have in mind? Any particular, any favorite teacher that you had in college? Which subject was it? Maths. And what did you learn from the teacher? How to do maths, yes, very true. Anyone else? Any other role models? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Absolutely, because he taught us that we are not just the body, but we are spiritual sparks. And as you go through life, there are people who make a very profound influence on you, and they shape your beliefs, they shape your values, they also shape who you are as a person. So a lot of it is dependent on the kind of association we have, and we always respect. And that could be teachers, they could be gurus, etc. Now, what we would like to, but have you found a role model who is always happy, who is always correct? No? Would you like to give an example? You never find anyone who's completely correct in all respects, isn't it? Your, your grandmother, always happy, always peaceful, yes. Anyone else? Thank you, Mataji. And how did you? So, if I can ask you a question, so how did you feel your grandmother had that particular temperament of peacefulness? And is it easy for us to be peaceful today in today's world? Yes. No. You are very peaceful. I can see that you've been smiling all the time. So yes, this world is not really very. It's not the best of the places to be in, and this particular verse really talks about what's called Atmaram. So, can somebody tell me what does Atmaram mean? One who is? Yeah, you're coming close there. Would anybody else like to try? Who is Atmaram? It's always good to look at the words so you can always break it into two parts. Atma is soul or self, and Ram, Ram is God. But what does Ram also mean? It's the pleasure potency of the Lord. So what Ram also means is that pleasure. So when you put Atmaram together, it refers to someone who is very satisfied with himself or herself. That means they don't have to really look out. They don't have to worry. They don't have to have like a good like a house or a good job or anything else to be happy because they are intrinsically happy. And how many of us can say that we are Atmaram? No one. None of us are. And that's what this particular passage really talks about. And what I will do is I'll just talk a little bit about the chapter 2 and what it really does because it's, as Prabhuji mentioned, it's contents of the Gita summarized. So if you really want to read one chapter in the Gita that's going to give you all the essence of the wisdom that's there in the Gita, then you can refer to chapter 2 because that's where Krishna talks about all the key concepts. The first 10 verses, Krishna talks about the role of a guru or a spiritual master. And that's when he starts answering, Arjuna's queries. Then he talks about, as Mataji mentioned, in the next few verses, he talks about identity. And who are we? Are we this body? What are we then? We are spirit soul. So we are essentially spiritual sparks of the divine splendor of the Lord. So we are all part and parcel of the Lord. So that's what Krishna tells. And then he talks about two things. Krishna also talks about two responsibilities that we have in this world. One is worldly duties, which is called Swadharma. And the other is Sanatan Dharma, which is spiritual duties. So many of us, we go through life, and the role models that you heard, I mean, whether it's your teachers, whether it's your parents, they help you do your worldly activities, they help you do your worldly duties. But if you really want to acquire spiritual knowledge, like the Gita, it's quite important for you to have a spiritual master, and that's what, as Mataji was saying, Srila Prabhupada is a shining example of a role model who is not only a spiritual teacher for all of us, but he also happens to be an Atmaram, so he's satisfied with himself. So we are going to read the purport and by Srila Prabhupada in this one, and we will try to unpack a little bit of the essence of the meaning. The word Muni, because the word Muni is mentioned in this particular passage, means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the word. How many of us know the word Muni? How many of us have heard the word Muni? Prabhuji. A sage or a wise person? Is that what you would say as well? A saint? Yeah. So you have also heard of the word Rishi. So is there a difference between Muni and a Rishi? Rishi Muni, yeah. There is a subtle difference because both of them are, very saintly people. The word Muni comes from the word Maunam in Sanskrit. Can somebody tell me what does the word Maunam mean? Exactly. Thank you, Mataji. So Maunam means you're silent. So what it really means is that anyone who is typically within himself and who practices silence is called a Muni. Of course, strictly speaking, a Muni will be silent, but then not, because we know Narada Muni, and we know that Narad Muni is the messenger of the Lord, and he used to speak a lot as well. And he would say, Om Narayana, he would be chanting. So, but Muni essentially means someone who is who only speaks when it's really required, but who generally is very happy, satisfied with himself. Another aspect of Muni is that there are different kinds of Munis, and many of them they try to acquire their knowledge through mental speculation. So can somebody tell me what is mental speculation? What do you understand by mental speculation? Now suppose you are given a particular topic. So you try to think about it, you try to make sense of it, you try to make, let's take the example of how does a tree grow? Let's take an example of that one. So how will you go about acquiring knowledge about how a tree grows? What will you do? Seed them. Yeah. So you learn about the physical aspects of that. What else? You read about it, yes. And then you start to form some opinions about it. And then once you start forming opinions, then you start, speculating, okay, maybe this is how, these trees grow big. Because you have trees, you have all kinds of trees, you have like tall trees, you have saplings, then you try to find your own opinions, etc. So you acquire your knowledge through opining, through speculating, what could be the possibilities. Is that the way you acquire spiritual knowledge? How do you acquire spiritual knowledge? How do you, for example, answer the question, who am I? You read books? You ask questions to people, Prabhuji? Listen to your guru? Yes, of course. When it comes to spiritual knowledge, you have to really take it from an authoritative source or the Bhagavad Gita or your spiritual master. You can't always keep speculating on the knowledge, because when you keep speculating on the knowledge, you'll have a lot of self doubt that could come in. And you can't obviously doubt the word of Krishna. So you have to really take it as authoritative knowledge. Now, what the Munis do, coming back to the Munis, what Munis do is that you have various levels of Munis, and there are some Munis who are really a very great Muni who have gone beyond mental speculation. But what Prabhupada says here is that there are still Munis who will be using mental speculation to acquire knowledge, and they may not be the best of the Munis. So let's continue with the discussion. So, but a sthita der Muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from any ordinary Muni. The sthita der Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. So when you reach a state where you're not really worrying about anything, you're just completely immersed in Krishna consciousness, that's when you truly become a Muni. So otherwise you're a Muni, but you're not a perfect Muni. So let's pray, and the Lords will be open, during. It'll open up again at 7:00. So we'll continue. So he's called Prashanta Nihesra Mano Ratantara, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculation and has come to the conclusion that Lord Krishna or Vasudev is everything. So let's ask ourselves, how many of us have self-doubts that keeps coming from time to time? Always. And that's really true, because here in this particular passage, it talks about the threefold miseries. So what are the threefold miseries? So what are the three ways, or what are the three areas by which in which you get miseries? So here Prabhupada talks about, there are three ways by which you get miseries. One is through the mind and body. What is the second type of miseries? Sorry. From others unto you. And what's the third miseries? The demigods, or you can talk of like nature, etc. So we have miseries of three types. One comes from our mind and the body, and the mind body can be like maybe disease, old age. What else could be some other examples of misery that we get from a body? Birth. Is birth a misery? Yes, because you're coming into this world. Yes, absolutely. So birth, death, disease, pain, any hurt that you feel, those are all miseries. How about the mind? Do you have miseries coming from the mind? Anxiety, depression, and here Prabhupada talks about three things. Krishna talks about three things: attachment, fear, and anger. So can you imagine how much of our life is, how many of our behaviors is impacted by attachment? How much of it is driven by fear? How much of it is driven by anger? Let's take the example of anger, fear. So I'm sure you have heard about a lot of phobias that we have, isn't it? Phobias is nothing but like different forms of fear. So do we know what's the most dreaded phobia that we have as human beings? Fear of death. What can be some of the other fears that we have, that we grapple with from time to time? Fear of losing someone, absolutely. You have your attachment. There's somebody who's very dear to you. It could be your parent, it could be a friend, it could be your sibling, it could be your son, your daughter, and you feel very close. And you always have this thing about wanting to be safe. You were talking about being safe. That means your mother, your parents want to protect you, and they want you to be well, they don't want to lose you. Absolutely. Fear of losing someone dear to you. What else? Snakes, yes, of course, snakes. Definitely snakes. Then there are some of us who have fear of heights because we get very scared when we go to heights and we can't really look down. Many of us are scared of public speaking because you may speak very well with each other, but the moment you go on stage, you become like tongue-tied. You just don't know what to say. And in fact, fear of public speaking, sometimes they say is even more than the fear of death. Because you sometimes find yourself completely tongue-tied if you're on stage, if you have to be, if somebody tells you to make a speech and you're suddenly saying, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," and a lot of this we are driven by fear, and that also like causes us to have behaviors in a certain way. Anger. How many of us have felt angry, and what are the reasons? Why are you angry? when you when your mother snatches the smartphone from you, snatches the game from you, and say, "Now it's time to study. Now it's time to do your homework. Now it's time to eat," isn't it? So that's when you feel angry. So what do you like to do at that point of time? You can think about it, but many of the times, we do get angry, and at times we can control, but at many times we can't even control. And I myself, for example, if something unfair is happening and you want to really shout, and you normally, do lose your temper at times, and that's a very natural thing. And uh, what do you normally do when you feel angry? What do you normally do? What's your typical response? Shout. Well, that's a good one. Sit all by myself. I'm going to get to this mood and I'm going to say, "Oh, this world is very unfair. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to get into my cocoon. I'm going to get into my shell and I'm not going to let anyone disturb me at all," because you're creating a kind of protective, like wall around yourself. So that could be a response, or it could be just shouting. How many of us? I know sometimes an example in suppose you're driving on the road, and of course in UK it's so much easier to drive. But if you drive in a place like Delhi, for example, or somewhere in India, where road rage seems to be a very acceptable behavior, and if you don't horn, if you don't press your horn, if you don't shout, if you don't find your car, like having some scratches, etc., then it's not daily life. And and these are things, simple things like road rage, can really affect you, and that really influences you and also dictates a lot of you. So what here, like Krishna says is that if you are a sage of equal mind, these things don't matter at all because you're completely immersed in Krishna consciousness. You're completely focused on developing your love for Krishna. And that's really what this particular passage all about. And I'll just read a few parts which Prabhupada says, which is really very, very interesting. And I'll continue reading this. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries that we spoke about, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated to the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. And that's what Prabhupada says. How can we really try to be Atmaram? We can be Atmaram when we fully surrender to Krishna, and when we really start developing that love of the seeds of bhakti in us. Can we spend a few moments closing our eyes? Close our eyes. Get yourself in a comfortable position. Reflect on what your thoughts are now. Do not worry about the thoughts that are coming. Even as they come, you can really look at, even if they are thoughts that evoke anger, attachment, or fear, you can just let it go. And as you start going deep within, try to imagine the Lord who is in your heart as a Paramatman. And as you think of the image of the Lord, also think of what form He is in. What is He telling you? In what form can you see Him? Is it the Bal Gopal who is crawling on the courtyards of Gokul? His mother Yashoda taking full care? Or do you see Him as the young, beautiful cowherd boy who is dressed in yellow dhoti and playing melodiously the flute and dancing with the gopis and Srimati Radharani? Connect with that vision. Now you can open your eyes. And I'm going to invite you to share your experience. How did you feel connecting with yourself and with the Paramatma within? Very, a feeling of gratitude for all the blessings that we have. Anyone else? What did you feel? You felt peaceful. You never closed your eyes. I saw that your eyes were already always open, so you were cheating, weren't you? So, anyone else? How did you feel about this short meditation? It does make us feel peaceful. So this is what this particular passage really, this Krishna, talks about. He speaks about Atmaram, and today you just had a very small glimpse of what that Atmaram can, can be, because it's really about looking within yourself and fully immersing yourself in Krishna consciousness. So when you come to the temple, and there are many ways by which you can actually, become Krishna consciousness, and there are some methods that Prabhupada has, shared with us. Would anybody like to share how do we become Krishna consciousness? What are some of the things that we can do? What are some of the practical things we can do? Sorry? Yeah, trying hard. Okay, yes, definitely trying hard. We all are making lots of endeavors. Yes, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mataji. So one way of, really doing that is to do things which will please Krishna. So we always have been trying to please us. So a way by which you can become Krishna consciousness is to perform activities that you can do to please Krishna. So when you wake up in the morning, you can off, and when you prepare, bhog, food, offer it to Krishna, and then you have it yourself, because then it becomes sanctified, blessed food. So that's one way of doing that. You could also perform different kinds of devotional service. The manor has a lot of activities. If you do want to volunteer, you can do that. You can chant. Many of us, we chant our rounds in the morning. How many of us chant in the morning? And how does that make us feel? Peaceful, like, really connected to Krishna. So a lot of this is really around developing those little small activities, even coming to the temple, for example. So it's very good that it's very nice to see all of you all come to the temple, because you want to take the darshan of the lordships, and we will do that in the next few minutes. And you have made a choice to come here. And there are many of us who probably make a choice to do other things, because we want to be very, we want to, fulfill our own, a sense enjoyment. We want to have our own pleasure. So, and maybe it's always good to reflect on how much do I spend time just to satisfy myself, and how much time do I spend, trying to please Krishna. So I don't need an answer right now, but then I think it's good to reflect on that. And the more we try to please Krishna through our activities, the more we can become the Atmaram that this particular verse speaks about. Isn't it? So, any questions, any reflections on what we discussed today? Which verse was this? Let me ask a quiz question. Which verse was this? 256. Thank you, Prabhuji. So it's 256. So I would invite you to read this, because and even 55 is when Krishna speaks about what it really means to be Atmaram. So read that, meditate on that, meditate on Prabhupada's purport, and there is a lot of nectar that you could get out of that. So while we have the Aarti coming in, I thought we could probably end with a short Kirtan. So please do join me with the Maha Mantra, and you can close your eyes if you'd like to. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. So now we'll prepare for the arati. So do keep this mood going on, and please do chant the Mahamantra as we go along. Do we have those? Maybe we can just start off. Yeah.
Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe Jai Sita Jayo Gaurav Nitai, Gaurav Nitai, Gaurav Nitai, Jayo Gaurav Nitai. Jayo Gaurav Nitai, Gaurav Nitai, Gaurav Nitai, Jayo Gaurav Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe Radha Gokulananda ki Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Srila Prabhupada ki Hidai Gaur Pramandi Kiva Jayo Jayo Gaurav Chandir Arati Kashobha Chatradara Basi ache Gaurav Chandra Ratan Singha Basi ache Gaurav Chandra Ratan Singha Arati Karena Adidevagana. Hey, Arati Karena Brahma Adidevagana. Narahari Adi Kari Chamara Dulai. Narahari Adi Kari Chamara Dulai. Hey, Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Gose Adigaya. Hey, Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Gose Adigaya. Sanko baje, ganta baje, baje karata. Sanko baje, ganta baje, baje karata. Hey, Madhura Mridanga Bhage Paramarachala. Haribol, come on. Hey, Madhura Mridanga Bhage Hey, Paramarachala. शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल everyone come on Hari bol, Hari bol. Jayo Goram Nitai, Goram Nitai, Goram Nitai, Jayo Goram Nitai. Jayo Goram Nitai. कोटि चंद्रजिनी वादन ज्वाला बाहो कोटि चंद्रजिनी वादन ज्वाला से बन माला कर जाल माला राधे राधे कमान काला दे से बन माला कर जाल माला सुकना राधा प्रेम गाथा गाथा शिव सुख नाराधा प्रेम गाथा गाथा संपदाया हे भगति विनोद देखे गोरा संपदाया हे गौरंगिरे आरती की शोभा जग जान माना लोभा बोलो ए गौरांगेरे आरती की शोभा जग जान माना लोभा जग जान माना लोभा हे जग जान माना लोभा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि गोनिताय संध्या आरती की लाउडर जोर से गोनिताय संध्या आरती की श्री श्री राधा गोकुलानंद की सीता राम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की उदय गौर भ्रमनंदे हरि हरि बोल श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jayo Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jayo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. See, half of the people, more than half of people not even opening the mouth. Come on, this is your chance. The human life is an opportunity to get rid of the cycle of birth and death. So please join with us. Okay, सब लोग अपना मुंह खोलो. भारतीय लोग और कौन खोलेगा? हाँ? शर्म आती है. शर्म आनी चाहिए बुरे काम के लिए, इसके लिए नहीं. ठीक है? हमारे मेरे पीछे भेजे, मैं बोलूंगा उसके बाद में. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo re, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Everyone, come on, everybody. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Sab bolo, sab bolo. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Raja Ram, Patit Pav, Sita Ram. Bolo. सब लोग बोलो, सब बोलो. Prabhupada ki. ऊपर हाथ करके हाथ ऊपर करके, come on. Raise your hand up, right up there. You know, we are surrendered. We are defeated by Maya, right? The life is going. We are getting to end of our life. So why we are raising hand? When we defeated in the battlefield, what we say? They say, hands up, right? In English. So we surrender. That means surrender yourself. You can't do it anything else, right? So louder behind me, okay? This is your chance. Come on. Don't be lazy, please, okay? I request you. Louder behind me. Hare Krishna. That's not louder enough. Come on. I'm giving my 100%. You should give 120%, you know. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Ram Ram. Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Radha Gokulanand ki. All you can have a seat. I'll say Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivaraka Acharya Abhay Charnarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivaraka Acharya Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki. Naam Acharya Haridas Thakur ki. Anand Koti Vaishnav Bind ki. Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand Gaur Gopinath Sham Kun Giriraj Govardhan ki. Louder. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki. Jagannath Puri ki. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra ki. Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki. Ayodhya Pati Ramchandra Bhagwan ki. Ayodhya Dham ki. Ganga Mai ki. Jamuna Mai ki. Tulsi Devi ki. Bhakti Devi ki. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. Bhakti Vedanta Manar ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much. By Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we are taking this advantage and we are happy without paying anything. We pay nothing, right? People go Friday night to finish. All the weekly money, what they earn, everything is gone. So please have a 5 more minutes. Prabhuji will sing, nursing a prayer, and after you can have prasad. Thank you very much. Come every day. Every evening we have this program. This morning we had a 4:30 program. There's 2-3 people, they come in 4:30, and myself also. So please come 4:30 in the morning, and then whole day here, and then you go 9:30 back. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Daine. Pralada Lada Daine. Hiranyakashipo Vakshaha. Shilatankana Kalaye. Shilatankana Kalaye. Nrisimha Parato Nrisimho Yato Yato Yamitato Nrisimha Yato Yato Yamitato Nrisimha Bahir Nrisimho Hridaya Nrisimho Narasimha Madhim Sharanam Prapadye Narasimha Madhim Sharanam Prapadye Tava Kara Kamala Varenaka Adbhuta Shinda Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Vrinda Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nrisimhadev, 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 Jaya Nrisimhadev. Jaya Nrisimhadev, 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 Jaya Nrisimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. नृसिंहदेव भगवान की, प्रहलाद महाराज की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरे कृष्ण।
निर्जला एकादशी की